Hello! Welcome to Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Weldon. Today's story is called Sour Grapes, an adaptation of an Aesop's fable written for you by Daniel Hines. Today, we'd like to say a special thank you to Sean, Evine, and Rory and their family in Wexford Town in Ireland, Lainey McCauley and her family in Durham, North Carolina, Polly Kay and Gus and their family in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Kian, Sadie, Mairead, and Jonah and their family in New York City. Thank you so much, Jonah, Mairead, Sadie, Kian, Gus, Polly Kay, Lainey, Rory, Evine, and Sean. You are part of what makes it possible for us to continue to produce fun new stories for our listeners. If you would like to support Stories Podcast and get every episode ad-free, head over to patreon.com/stories and join for just $1 a month. If you'd like access to all of our ebooks or to receive a thank you in a future episode, that's also available at patreon.com/stories. We have Stories Podcast merch available at storiespodcast.com/shop, and now we're also on Cameo. Check us out over there if you'd like to get a personal video message for someone special. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Stories Podcast. If you send us a drawing of your favorite scene or character, we'll share it on our feed. Now, here's a word from our sponsors. Hey, parents with hardwood floors. When you're looking for the best to keep your hardwood floors clean, choose the one flooring contractors agree on, Bona Hardwood Floor Cleaner. The residue-free, fast-drying solution is specially designed for hardwood floors, delivering the safe and effective clean you trust. Happier homes start with healthier people. That's why Bona innovates more sustainable products and systems that are better for you, your family, your pets, and the environment. All their products are made with plant-derived ingredients and always using water-based and biodegradable solutions. I, for one, never use cleaning products that aren't safe for my dogs, and I appreciate that Bona keeps them in mind. I also love Bona because their products work great and smell great, too. Bona Hardwood Floor Cleaner is available at most retailers where floor cleaning products are sold and on Amazon. Also available for your other hard surface floors like stone, tile, laminate, vinyl, and LVT. For cleaning tips and exclusive offers, visit bona.com/bonaclean. Parents, does your family need a break from screen time? Gather the kids and dive into a great story together. We believe that stories are magic, so when we find a great one, we can't wait to share it. Far, far away on the planet Florp, a baby named Bobby Wonder was born. But his parents relocated the family to Earth right after his birth, so Bobby grew up having no idea he was an alien. Until his 10th birthday, that is. Can you imagine waking up on your birthday to find out that you can fly and talk to ducks? Created by a New York Times best-selling children's author, produced by the Emmy Award-winning Go Kid Go team, and voiced by Community star Danny Pudi, Bobby Wonder is one of the fastest-growing children's podcasts with good reason. Visit GoKidGo.com for more information and find Bobby Wonder on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks! Enjoy the episode! Sour Grapes. Once upon a time, in a busy little forest, a young fox named Fina was hungry. In fact, if you asked her, she would say she's more than hungry. She's downright famished, which is just a fancy word for extra super duper hungry. There was plenty of food in the woods, but Fina wasn't that interested in hunting down a mouse or digging up bugs like the other foxes. Sure, she would do it before she starved, but what she really wanted was a nice, fresh piece of fruit. One that was sweet and ripe and so juicy it would run down her mouth and stain her fur. She prowled through the bushes, a sleek orange shadow with a puffy white chest and big pointy ears. Her clever snout twitched and wrinkled at every scent, making her pause and sniff the wind. I smell mice. Ugh. Worms? No thanks. And frogs? Maybe later, for dessert. Fina continued on through the woods until she found a little clearing. Here, the sun could shine in brightly, not blocked by the spreading branches, and vines wound up and around old tree trunks. The little fox paused and sniffed, then again, then a great big huffing, snuffing breath. Fresh fruit, she said, her bushy tail wagging and her pointed ears twitching. It's grapes. Oh, I love grapes. She practically danced up to the vines, but the grapes down by the ground had already all been eaten. She looked up, and there, about halfway up the tree, well above Fina's head, a bunch of grapes were still there, hanging fat and sweet and juicy on the vine. "Oh, those look so good," she said. "In fact, they look grape." Laughing at her own joke, she circled the tree a few times. The grapes were too high for her to reach. She stood on her back paws, front paws on the bark, but still they were above her. "Well, looks like I'm going to have to change my elevation," she said, elevation being a fancy word for how high you are off the ground. "Time for a big, old-fashioned, super-duper fox jump." She backed up, her front getting really low and her butt getting really high, her bushy tail swaying back and forth for balance. In reality, foxes weren't great jumpers, but with their sharp claws, they could land and then scramble up a few extra feet, which was exactly Fina's plan. "For the grapes!" she hollered, and then ran and jumped as high as she could. She hit the bark of the tree with her claws and scurried up a few more feet. The grapes were just above her now, and they smelled sweeter than ever. They smelled so sweet that Fina started to drool a bit. She craned her clever snout up, and she couldn't quite reach. "No! No!" Her paws slipped from the bark, and she spun towards the ground. Before she could crash down, though, she landed on something dark and fuzzy and huff-snuffing at the ground. She laid there for a second, dizzy and confused, until the dark and fuzzy something turned its head to look at her.
"Oh, hello,"
said the big bear she had landed on.
"Why are you on my back? Is it comfy? No, don't answer that. If it's comfy, I don't want to know, since I'll never be able to lay on my own back."
"Oh, sorry," said Fina, hopping down from the bear to the ground. "I wasn't trying to be on your back. I was trying to get the grapes way up in the tree. Someone ate all the low ones."
"Someone ate the low grapes?"
said the bear, his mouth stained purple with grape juice.
"Wow, sounds pretty selfish of them."
Fina thought about mentioning the bear's sopping muzzle, but decided against it. The bear seemed friendly enough, but with those huge paws, even an annoyed swat would send Fina rolling into next week.
"Well, see you later,"
the bear said.
"I hope your other tries aren't as fruitless. Get it? Fruitless? Ha ha!"
"Oh, I get it," said Fina. "It's not funny, but I get it." She shook her head as the bear walked away. When something was fruitless, that meant it was failing. It was a good pun, but Fina already knew she had failed and didn't want to be reminded of it. Once the big bear was gone, Fina looked up at the grapes again and thought up a new plan. She couldn't jump or climb high enough, but could she knock the grapes down? She said to herself. "It would have to be a pretty good shot, but maybe I could do it." Fina had never been much of a thrower. She was far better at catching, but she found a small stone that seemed like it would work. Backing up a bit, she took careful aim at a particularly juicy cluster of grapes that was so heavy the branch was already sagging. It definitely looked like one good throw would send them falling to the ground and into Fina's mouth. "For the grapes!" she cried again, and then she let the stone fly. It whizzed through the air, well below the grapes, crashed through 2 other trees, and then smashed right into a hive of angry bees. Well, to be clear, the bees didn't start angry, but a stone crashing into your house would infuriate just about anyone. Infuriated is a fancy word for super-duper angry, and that's definitely what the bees were now. They swarmed out, wings buzzing and stingers at the ready.
Buzz, who did that? Buzz, there, that fox. Buzz, get her!
Yipes! Fina yelped, and then she turned and ran. The bees chased her through the woods as she leapt over logs and snaked under roots. They kept coming until finally she plunged herself into a muddy little pond. The bees couldn't swim, and besides, they saw her sink into the stinky muck and decided she'd had punishment enough already. They started to buzz away. Sorry, Fina called. I'm just trying to get some grapes.
Bzz, well, maybe you should try raising your throw, one said, and the others laughed. Get it? Raisin. Bzz.
Oh, I get it, Fina mumbled, shaking the muck off her sleek orange coat and the puffy white fur on her chest. It's not funny, but I get it. Fina made her way back towards the grapes. Her stomach rumbled loud and long, reminding her that if she couldn't get one of the bunches down, she'd soon have to go find some worms for lunch. Yuck. As she walked back to the clearing, she stepped on a springy little sapling, which is a very young tree that is still more flexible than hard. The sapling bent under her paw and then snapped back into place with a whip sound. It moved so fast, Fina jumped back, surprised. It snapped up almost like a catapult. And then Fina got a great and terrible idea. She looked around and found the biggest sapling she could find that was still flexible enough to bend back. She pushed and pulled and crawled and heaved and finally got it bent all the way down to the ground, with her right on top of it, claws digging into the dirt to keep herself in place. Here I come, she said to herself. For the grapes! She let go with her claws and the tree whip-snapped itself up, flinging Fina Fox far into the sky. She soared up and up and up. The grapes were above her, just a little more. There! But Fina was still flying. She soared over the grapes and over the tree and into the air. She might have kept going clear across the forest, but she smacked into a large goose that had just decided to fly south for the winter. The pair smashed together, beak to snout and feather to fur and belly to wing. Squawking and yipping, they spiraled to the ground, the goose having just enough sense left to stop them from crashing.
What do you think you're doing?
Cried the goose, shaking herself free.
Watch where you're flying! I swear, is it your first time? Wait, you're a fox.
That's right, said Fina, stretching a sore paw.
Foxes don't fly.
Oh, you're right about that, said Fina, heaving a bitter sigh. I launched myself trying to get those grapes up there, but it didn't work. I tried jumping and climbing and throwing, and it's worthless. Who cares anyway? Those grapes are probably sour. They're probably sour and bitter and awful, and who cares if I can't get them? I give up. The goose looked from the fox to the grapes and cocked her long neck.
But if they're sour, why did you want them so badly?
Well, I wasn't thinking, Fina snapped. Of course, she could still smell the grapes, sweet as ever. But since she couldn't have them, she had to convince herself they were bad to begin with. They're sour grapes, and I don't want them anyway. I'm going to go eat a frog or something. The goose looked at Fina for a minute and then flapped up the tree to where all the grapes were still growing. She took one in her mouth and swallowed it down.
Oh, they taste pretty sweet to me, the goose said. Are you sure you don't want some?
Well, said Fina, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all, said the goose.
She reached down with her beak and snipped a few stems, sending the bunches of grapes bouncing into the grass below.
Just stay out of the sky,
the goose said again, and then took off back into the air.
And quit whining about sour grapes. Get it? Whining? Ha ha ha!
She vanished into the sky, laughing as she went. "I get it," Fina called back, smiling now. "Good one." She bent down and popped a grape into her mouth. It was juicy and so sweet. She ate another and kept on going until her clever snout was sticky with juice and her belly was bulging, and she couldn't even think about having a frog for dessert. Fina went home, happy and full. To this day, people still use the term sour grapes to describe someone like the little fox, who claims something is bad just because they can't have it for themselves. But Fina learned that the sweetest things may be hard to get, but they're worth fighting for. The end. Today's story, Sour Grapes, was an adaptation of an Aesop's fable written for you by Daniel Hines, edited and produced for you by Andrew Martin, and performed for you by me, Amanda Weldon. If you would like to support Stories Podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, get ad-free episodes and more at patreon.com/stories, check out all of our merch available at storiespodcast.com/shop, commission a special video on Cameo, follow us on Instagram at Stories Podcast, or simply tell your friends about us. Thanks for listening!